Everybody, I'm Lzzy Hale from the band Halestorm, and we are talking the top 11 metal vocalists of all time. Let's go back to the beginning when Deep Purple released Child in Time. This was my first real experience with listening to a voice like that. And Ian Gillan is amazing. His vocal range was just unmatched. And they have been touted as really, the beginning of that kind of heavy metal sound back in the day when that wasn't really heard of. This guy I probably would put as number one because he still is my absolute favorite metal vocalist of all time, but I thought we'll go chronologically. Mr. Ronnie James Dio. He is absolutely amazing. He was amazing. He will live on forever, horns raised. When I first discovered Dio, I think I was about 11 years old. I was very much into Holy Diver. He was a big reason why I realized that I was kind of a strange girl. When I was 11, I got invited to a sleepover, and I ended up taking my CD of Holy Diver to this sleepover when I was 11. Now, this is around, not 1996, so nobody was really listening in the current state of music to Dio. Everybody was listening to Backstreet Boys and TLC and all that. So when I put in my Dio CD into the there's a little boombox at this girl's house, those other girls looked at me like I was from another planet. Number 3, which is Mr. Rob Halford. We cannot have this list without Rob Halford of Judas Priest. One of the greatest metal singers of all time. His high range is unmatched, and can still say that he can hit all of the notes in Painkiller even today, which is extremely inspiring because that's just future goals for myself, because I want to be able to do the same things that I do now, when I'm legendary like Mr. Rob Halford. Number 4, let's dig into the Prince of Darkness himself, Mr. Ozzy Osbourne. I remember listening to Ozzy Osbourne really when I was a late teenager. I really loved Osmosis. I know that there's going to be some diehard people that are going to be upset about that, but I really love Osmosis, and just digging into that heavy sound. And not only is he an amazing vocalist, just unique in his own. If Ozzy Osbourne comes on the radio, it's Ozzy. But also he had this character, and I remember at an early age really admiring the fact that he could slip into this character and live and breathe as the Prince of Darkness. It really made me think, early on in, the early years of Halestorm, well, what is my character? And when I walk on stage, am I able to transform into not just Elizabeth Hale, in my living room, but now Lzzy Hale. He is also the reason that I have no I in Lzzy, because when we were a young band, we had a super fan that loved Ozzy Osbourne and myself. And so she kind of shipped the two names together because she was spelling my name, Lzzy. All these girls started coming to our shows and dropping the vowels from their names. So there was Jessie, J-S-S-Y, and Linny, L-N-N-Y. And I thought, well, this is really cool. I should really stick with this. I'm going to throw in Chris Cornell in here. Not necessarily synonymous in metal, but he had a metal voice. His vocals are unmatched, and he had that, I guess, that gut-wrenching, I am singing from the deepest, darkest pit of my soul. Really just laying everything out there, being unapologetic about how he was feeling, and it came out in his vocals. Chris just had that thing, man. He had that voice. It ripped something out of you. It touched you in such a deep way. And between his vocal range and all of the different gears that he can use to mix and make that kind of tritone just rasp, was very inspiring to me as a young singer, because that was something that I was always after. Number 6, I have Layne Staley of Alice in Chains. One of my favorite songs that Layne Staley sang is Rain When I Die, because if you think about the range of vocal that he's using, I mean, that is, usually most singers have like 1 or 2 gears. He uses about 4 in that song. And then just the vocal acrobatics, the way that he can move through his range with such control and such pitch. And, obviously just having that heavy hitting, that guttural thing is just absolutely amazing. This is one of the first vocalists that I really got into as a teenager. He inspired me to sing the way that I sing, and also he inspired me to pick up a guitar, and it's Mr. Tom Keifer of Cinderella. Uses his rasp in such a bluesy way. So he really is the epitome of bringing those two worlds together, and then making it metal. There was something about that tritone that he uses in his rasp that made me want to see how far I could push my voice and how hard I can actually make it, but also make it effortless. Don't make anything hurt. For all you vocalists out there, if it hurts, don't do it. You're doing it wrong. It should feel like breathing, and it should feel effortless, and Tom always had that. Next up, let's get into Kitty, Morgan Lander. When I first started getting deeper into more current music and less into the classic rock, I started listening to Kitty, and I was very inspired by the fact that she was a female doing this and playing and singing this heavy music. The way that she can come out of her screams and still have this kind of clean tone that she's able to really just go back and forth seesaw with was extremely inspiring to me, because I realized that it was possible to have a couple of those different gears. And so Morgan Lander is the reason why I'm very adamant that if I'm going to be screaming my head off in one song, you bet that the next song I'm going to go the complete opposite end of the spectrum and show the clean tones that I can do. The next singer that I'm going to talk about is Mr. Lajon Witherspoon of Sevendust. His vocal range, but also his soulfulness in the way that he and in his delivery is why he is so awesome. Also, he was the first front man that I saw really just kind of holding chords. Lajon doesn't necessarily run around too much on stage. He just kind of stands there, and it's almost like he's giving a sermon. It's just such a beautiful display of that fellowship and how you're able to, as a singer, really just be the host to the party and bring people in with just your talents. I know this man is, again, more synonymous with popular rock and roll in the 80s, but the personality, I could not leave David Lee Roth off of this list. There's always that, debate, are you, David or are you Sammy? But David Lee Roth, the range that he had and the way that he was able to exude and almost just ooze so much of his personality into his songwriting and into his singing. It's almost like he's improvising in every single song, but all the improv is just spot on and exactly the moment that you wanted. So as an individual singer, it's amazing to watch, because nobody can really do what he does except for him. You can try to imitate David Lee Roth, but there is only one. Last but definitely not least, I'm gonna bring in some Lemmy. I don't think a lot of people would have gotten into metal if it wasn't for Motörhead and it wasn't for Lemmy. With that raw power and that raw, raspy voice. He's not even trying to be technical. He is just a pure force of nature, and just to be able to, embody that really what metal is all about and what raising your horns is all about. I just realized that the actual definition of raise your horns is to exalt oneself. And when Lemmy would get up on that stage, and plug in and let her rip, the whole room would feel it, and everybody felt that storm happen. And so he definitely had an ability to exalt the entire audience. I think that brings me to the end of my list, and so I would like to just thank everybody for being brave enough to listen to me ramble about my top 11 metal singers of all time. That is no small feat for anyone to listen to me ramble, so I appreciate that. And keep raising your horns, and I will see you out on the road. Thank you so much, everybody.